Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, we have breaking news here. Keith Thurman is out. Apparently, he injured his bicep as a part of his training camp. And Sebastian Fundora is in. Now, this is an interesting development, Jay. I want to spend some time talking about Keith Thurman first. I feel bad for Keith Thurman. When you think about over the last few years, Keith Thurman has been riddled with injuries. And I just think that that's partially just due to his body breaking down from the sport. I think Thurman has been in the game since he was a young child, if I'm not mistaken. And, this game will take a toll on your body. Keith is now 35 years old. He's been very, very, very inactive. And I just think that that's primarily the reason why he injured himself in this particular training camp, because now all of a sudden you have to ramp up. You're going hard in training camp and your body cannot sustain it any longer, specifically when you've been out for so long. And so Keith is out. And, man, you got to really ask yourself, Jay, what other opportunities is Keith Thurman going to get in the future? When you think about just his level of inactivity, Keith Thurman has been relegated to the recesses of our mind when you really think about it. I mean, I haven't really thought about Thurman in any kind of detail since probably 2019. And then, of course, he was moved back to the forefront with this fight. It was an opportunity for Keith Thurman to put his name back in the consciousness of boxing fans, and this happens. So personally, I think it's more than likely over for Keith Thurman at the top of the sport. I don't think he's going to get many other opportunities. He can't stay healthy, and that's a shame, man, because Keith was a talent. And I was looking forward to seeing him in the ring. And it's just unfortunate that his career got derailed with all of these injuries over the last few years. Now, moving to Sebastian Fundora, we just recently saw him get KO'd. Well, not recently. That was probably almost a year ago now that I think about it. I think it was last April, if I'm not mistaken, when he got beat by Brian Mendoza. Yeah. Jay, I don't know if you really like to fight or not. Personally, I don't necessarily like to fight. Just because we saw Fundora come off a loss, I think Fundora probably needs a soft touch, and I don't know, what his psyche is currently. Stylistically, it would make for a great fight, you know what I'm saying? But I just don't know competitively where Fundora's mind is for a fight like this, a fight of this magnitude on short notice. So that is somewhat concerning for me. Tim Tszyu, I would pick Tim Tszyu to win this fight. It just derails the momentum, man. When you think about PBC and I have to say it's starting off with a whimper right now, man. With this particular fight, we were already kind of thinking, I don't know how many people are going to be necessarily interested in this fight to this level, specifically their first fight on Amazon. And now with the fight being canceled and you have Fundora, how can you even justify that it's a pay-per-view? That just popped into my mind, Jay. How in the world can you even justify that this is a pay-per-view fight now? So, I mean, it's starting off with a whimper. I don't know how many fans are going to be interested in buying it on pay-per-view. I know we got to watch it or we got to pay for it because we cover the sport of boxing. So we'll be purchasing it, but still, that's a heavy blow at that point, Jay. A fight that may not necessarily be as competitive as we want. I don't know. Is Rolly getting elevated to be in the main event now? I mean, it's still an interesting card, but it's just not pay-per-view worthy at the moment. And it was questionable whether it was pay-per-view worthy to begin with, to be quite honest with you. I didn't really think it was a pay-per-view card. So tough blow, man. Tough blow for Keith Thurman. Tough blow for Tim Tszyu. Fundora, we'll see what he brings to the ring. Jay, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's intriguing how they set it up for Fundora to get the matchup. Now, he was winning that fight against Mendoza until Mendoza cracked him. He was winning that fight there, so it wasn't like he was just getting dominated, but he's coming off a loss last fight, April 8th. So it'd be just a little less than a year for him to get this fight. And like you said, coming off a loss like that where he got dropped and he looked at the ref like he didn't want to play, he didn't want to fight no more like Martin was against Tommy Hearns, So the psyche aspect is very true. Boxing is mainly mental. I was hoping if anyone could have gotten the step in would have been Lubin. That's who I was hoping for, but Lubin lost Fundora, by TKO basically in that fight, which was damn near fight of the year when they fought on that. But to your point, this fight card wasn't necessarily a big mega pay-per-view to begin with. We know we got Rolly on there, we got Harrison, Laura on there. So I mean, but it's not like a bunch of bangers. Laura is like in the back of your mind, you forget he even was fighting still. He's fighting at 160 and he's a champion, but most people went in there like, Laura got a title? Like, yeah, he got a title. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this card goes and continues for Tim Tszyu. The matchup is intriguing to me because if Fundora had lasted against that fight against Brian Mendoza, he would have fought Tim Tszyu last year instead of Brian Mendoza. We would have seen this fight last year. So we'll see how this matches up. I'm with you. I think Tim handles business here as well because I think Tim is really on a mission. It's just interesting also how they're going to do the undercard because, Fundora's supposed to fight Boychuk for the WBC title.
Yeah.
So now, who's going to step in to fight Boychuk? Is anyone's going to get in there? Now they're going to elevate Jesus Ramos, who's next in line on WBC, and then Lubin, or how that's going to go? Because it's going to have to be someone from PBC to keep the money in house like that. They're not going to decide to go somewhere outside because that's going to add to a whole bunch of issues with contracts and things of that nature there. So I think it's going. If they just don't scratch that Boychuk fight, it might be Jesus Ramos or Lubin. I don't know where those gentlemen are at as far as the training regimen going right now, but it's because we're only 12 days away. So this is impacting 2 fights on that fight card, and I agree with you. It wasn't necessarily a pay-per-view fight card like we're going to probably get in June with someone like Tank on there or even a David Benavidez, but at least they pivoted to someone that's kind of known, that was doing really well until he got dropped last year. So at least they pivoted that way, but it's still a bummer. Like you said, Keith Thurman, he's the biggest loser along with all the fans in this sense. Because let's be honest now, no one asked for a Keith Thurman versus Tim Tszyu fight. No one was asking for that fight. We wanted Tim Tszyu to fight someone else, but we settled for it because we're like, okay, we'll see what Keith got. The bookies had Keith as a 8-1 underdog on there, so. Glad I ain't placed a bet because I'd be mad now because I can't get nothing anyway. I probably gonna lose money anyway. But I think Keith Thurman, you may as well say Keith Thurman's like the Derrick Rose of boxing. He stays injured. Great potential when he's healthy, but dude can't stay healthy. He's fought one time in like the last 2 times, the last 5 years? I mean, I think to your point, I think it might be done for Keith. He may as well get in the analyst booth with Sean Porter. He's a great analyst as well. I think he can definitely rock that out and be okay.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with old Keith. Like I said, it's unfortunate considering what happened to Keith Thurman, and this fight card, in my personal opinion, took a massive blow because Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora is not a pay-per-view fight. So I don't know how they're going to salvage that. It'll be interesting. It's a rocky start for PBC on Amazon Prime, but we'll see what ends up happening. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to this. Keith Thurman out, Sebastian Fundora in. Interesting stuff. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are out.